You know, I don't have a speech. The speech was already delivered. The speech was already delivered. The keynote speech was delivered tonight by Dr. GWANMESIA. And please give her a hand again. So I don't know why they inversed the roles. I'm supposed to be the John the Baptist, and she was the Jesus. And in all honesty, you can see, there's not much on this paper. Most of it is blank. But I was thinking as I was coming from Washington this afternoon, wondering what I'll be saying tonight. And I wanted it to be as spontaneous as possible, because I left Washington to come here because I understood the importance of the event, the importance of why we are here, the need for a Cameroon cultural center. And the few things I'll say, I hope, will convince those who are still on the fence about this initiative. And there are people who are on the fence. Because I called a friend of mine and said I was going to Philadelphia for the Cameroon Cultural Center. And he told me, said, well, just wait and see. When the money starts coming in, that project will be dead.
Oh my God.
A friend told me that. When the money starts coming in, that project will be dead. The infighting, the people who, they'll end up in the courts. I said, no, but that can't happen. He said, no, it happens all the time. Initiatives that Cameroonians have launched in this country, I hear people have ended up in courts. And I'm sure a lot of you might know some of them. So I thought, okay, well, if I'm going to come here, let me talk. Let me say something that will compel us to think differently. I heard a phrase tonight, which I've always thought about. And I'm going to remind all of us about that phrase, because that is what should energize us. When I was growing up in Cameroon, we used to say, mostly in French, l'impossible n'est pas camerounais. I know that, I think it was Marichal, somebody said it tonight. And it used to be that. A lot of the young people sitting on this table have no clue why we said that. But we said it because Cameroon rose up against odds and overcame them. I talked to the late Tato, the captain of the Indomitable Lions. I talked to him one day and I said, tell me about that game you played. The Lions played against Argentina when Argentina was the world champion. And Tato recounted that experience to me. He said they were all, the entire team was feeling defeated even before the game. He said they were feeling defeated even before the game. And then they went into the vestiaire. Okay. Yeah, they went into the locker room. And as they came in, he said he was coming in, Omambi and this, and then what did they find? They found Maradona on his knees praying. And Toto said, he told me, he said, when I saw this, I wondered, God and Maradona, what can Cameroon do? And then he said, Antoine Bell came to him and said, l'impossible n'est pas Camerounais. Because he realized that everybody was defeated. And then Bell Antoine said, remember, l'impossible n'est pas Camerounais. And do you know what happened? Do you, the young people, know what happened? We beat Maradona and we beat Argentina. Cameroon won. The tragedy of today, of the Cameroon of today is, we no longer say, l'impossible n'est pas Camerounais, the impossible is not Cameroonian. We say today, le Cameroun, c'est le Cameroun. That is what has changed. That is what has changed in the mindset. That is what has changed in the country. That is what has taken Cameroon from a top performer that I remember in 1981, I was in Washington and I read the Wall Street Journal in one of the early reports it had about Africa. And they identified Cameroon as the island of prosperity in a sea of despair. 1981, you can Google it, Wall Street Journal, Cameroon. Island of prosperity in a sea of despair. You must ask yourself, where is that Cameroon? What changed? What happened? You'll be surprised to hear this. Around 1979-80, we discussed the possibility of a Cameroonian cultural center in Washington. 40 years later, it has not happened. Wow. My point is, let's recapture that spirit. That's why I drove from my home in Virginia to this place with that message. Let's capture that. Look, it can start from anywhere. Why not now? It can start with anybody. Why not you? It can start at any time. Why not at this time? Let's plant the seed here in this hall, which I'm told is owned by a Cameroonian. Yes. Let's plant that seed that will grow and spread out and redefine who we are. Because we are not the Cameroon of Le Cameroun, c'est le Cameroun. We are not the Cameroon of today that is, on its knees. I speak for 20 years. Some of you might know, I was head of World Bank Communications in Africa. So I traveled that continent extensively. I know about the economies of Africa. And I know what Cameroon can be if we put our minds to it. I know what our country can be if we put our minds to it. There's no other country as endowed on a per capita basis, if you know what I mean. Given the number of people, the size of the country, and the state of and the resources that we have in Cameroon. No other African country we can be le pays phare. We can be the light. We can be that shining example on the hilltop in Africa, and let the others follow us. I went to Rwanda after the devastation of the genocide, and President Kagame had come to power. He was trying to organize this country. He looked around. The country depended totally on foreign aid, and there were no prospects. He looked, they have no resources. And guess what? Amongst the many things that he's trying to do, I'll tell you one that amazed me. We were visiting Kigali, and when we got there, I got there with part of a delegation. They told us, no, the meetings will not take place in Kigali. We'll go out into the country. And then we went out of Kigali, we got into this little town where there must have been about 2,000 soldiers. And we were wondering why a meeting on the economy would be taking place with soldiers in a village. And it turned out President Kagame had decided that since they have no resources of their own, they've destroyed a few places in Congo to dig up minerals and so on. He decided he would do something which I found fascinating. They have studied the need for cassava. Cassava in Africa. Is there any country, I mean, Nigeria alone can consume all the cassava in the world. You can ask our friend from Nigeria. All the cassava in the world, Nigeria will consume. President Kagame found out the need for this tuber and decided that they have enough land to plant enough cassava to distribute across Africa. They have no natural resources, but they have land, a bit of land, and they have fertile soil. So you wake up one morning, and then, so they took us to this place where they were experimenting it, and we found out that Rwanda has determined that there are 35 derivatives of cassava. For us, cassava is bobolo. Cassava is gari. Cassava is what again? Waterfufu. Mitumba. They have 35. They have 35 not varieties, 35 derivatives. In other words, they can get medication, drugs from cassava, food from cassava, starch from cassava, and so on. And they could transform these things, package them well, and sell them to the world market. All of a sudden, Rwanda saw itself becoming a major player in one industry in the world, cassava. Now think about it. If we decided to go the cassava route in Cameroon, we have, but there's no transformation except what we do to eat. So there are all kinds of possibilities in Cameroon. We talked about our cuisine. We talked about the Cameroonian cuisine. One of the few countries in Africa that is pushing its cuisine with support from the government. There are two countries in Africa that are really pushing on their cuisine with support from the government and the private sector. You know which two? Can anybody tell me which the two are? Senegal and Ethiopia. Senegal and Ethiopia. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to this. Senegal and Ethiopia. Senegal has two dishes. Two. Chebojen, and Yasa. Ethiopia has one. Njara. Njara comes with a lot of things around it. But Ethiopia has one. And there are 40 Ethiopian restaurants in Washington, D.C. I'm not talking about the rest of Maryland and Virginia. Go to U Street and you'll count 16 Ethiopian restaurants. And they serve njara in all its forms. Think about what we have in Cameroon. Honestly, think about it. Think about it. I spent 4 years in Tunisia. They have one. I spent 3 years in Kenya. They have two. This is for real. Can we make a list of what we have in Cameroon? Let me just have each table give us two. Please don't repeat what others are saying. Just give us any two. Koki, Bobochobi, Kongre, Pompile. Well, you get my drift, right? Look, this cultural center that we must create must have as its mission moving Cameroon cuisine from where it is to where it should be. That should be an enduring mission. If Ethiopia can have 40 restaurants in Washington, D.C., and I'm not talking about the rest of the country, I'm not even talking about the DMV, what we call the DMV, the district, Virginia and Maryland. There must be close to 100 of them. Think about and almost all of the njara they eat comes from Ethiopia. Almost all of the njara they eat comes from Ethiopia. And from the njara that comes from Ethiopia, they've built the fastest growing city in Africa. If you don't know that, that's true. The fastest growing city on the continent is Addis Ababa. Addis Ababa, that was a village until a dirty, sprawling village until about 1986. Actually, maybe later than that, 89. Addis Ababa now, when I first went to Addis Ababa, they had two hotels. They had the Hilton, which had come to Addis Ababa because every year, twice a year, they received almost all the African heads of states and their delegations. So Hilton cornered that market and had it. And then another hotel, a more local hotel. These were the two. The more local hotel received the emperor's guests. Do you have any idea how many hotels are in Addis Ababa today? Any idea? There's no major hotel chain that doesn't have a hotel in Addis Ababa. None. Sheraton, the Marriott, you name it, all of them. Most of that, and most of the buildings belong to Ethiopians in the diaspora. And a lot of them, they run restaurants and garages, right? But a lot of them, restaurants, and in these restaurants they serve Ethiopian food. So we can do a lot with our cuisine. I'm going to end. I know I talk for... Don't give me a microphone. You should have known that. You knew. There are three things that define us as human beings, or three things that ultimately define who we are, what we are. There's the geography. That's the first. This is not you. The second thing that defines a people is the economy, and the third thing is culture. We are defined by the fact that we are Cameroonians, whether we like it or not. I mean, we were born there, or our ancestors were born there, and even those who were born here, their parents came from Cameroon. That's what makes them Cameroonian, nothing else. Geography defines who you are. The economy is the totality of resources that God gave you and that you can transform. That's what makes your economy. But what defines a people, what defines you as a person, is what comes out of those two, the geography and the economy. What comes out of it is your culture. So if we intend to promote Cameroon, let us make it a point of duty to promote the culture of that country. That is why we need a cultural center. Unfortunately, we don't have a government that's attuned to that, but that's no problem. That government will come. That government will come. That leadership will be provided. Cameroon will be transformed. That rich and that wealthy geography and the natural resources and the human resources it has will ultimately build a country of which Africa will be proud and the world would love to come and see. It is a duty, our duty. And that's the challenge that came tonight from Dr. GWANMESIA. And I just had to say it using a different language. Having said that, I want to, from the bottom of my heart, thank those who are behind this initiative. Thomas, Eric, you know yourselves. We thank you all, those of us who are not intimately involved in this. We thank you, we will work with you, and we will make sure this center comes into being. It will. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are here to raise funds to build the Cameroon Cultural Center that will be in Philadelphia. And we are also here to promote our culture. And promoting our culture tonight, we're going to call to stage our very first keynote speaker, ladies before gentlemen, of course. She is going to be giving a speech titled, Unleash the Power of Inclusion, How to Build Thriving Communities. And I'm going to our queen for tonight, who is no other person than Dr. Eunice GWANMESIA, Diversity and Inclusion Strategist. She's also the CEO and founder of eUnity Solutions. Put your hands together as we welcome the Queen of Diversity and Inclusion.
Good evening again, everyone. DJ Manu, thank you, my dear brother. He always knows how to bring me up here. How's everybody doing? You just got dead silent, quiet for a moment. I don't know if this is a setup. How could you bring me first before my big brother, Eric CHINJE? I think that is a big setup. Women first. Women first. I don't know about that. Let me take my glasses off. Right? I think that's a big setup from the Cameroonian Association of Greater Philadelphia. So, first of all, let me thank the executive team and members of the Cameroonian Association of Greater Philadelphia for bringing us here today. I also like to thank any dignitaries in the room, any representatives, guests, and all other protocol at large. And I have here with me today a mentee in the name of Assurance, all the way from Nigeria. She is a mentee of mine. She's a Mandela Fellowship, Washington Fellowship program with me in Delaware, at the University of Delaware, visiting all the way from Nigeria. So please give her a round of applause. Audre Lorde once said, "It is not our differences that divide us. It is our inability to recognize, accept, and celebrate those differences." For the next 3 hours. For the next 3 hours. Wow. You guys are really a good audience. I was just trying to see if you were listening. I only have 15 minutes up here, Thomas forewarned me, right? Maybe less than that. So for the next 15 minutes, I will be talking about unleashing the power of inclusion, how to build thriving and inclusive communities. Because after all, we're here today to talk about building a cultural center, right? The very first one in North America, for that matter. So that's what I will be talking about. But what do we have going on? We have some problems that we're facing in our communities. Lack of cultural understanding. Some discrimination going on. Divisiveness. Random shooting just because of our skin color. Just because we live in certain communities. Just because we're driving cars we shouldn't be driving. Just because we have a nameplate on our car and we got followed and get shot in the head. And the list goes on and on and on. We can keep listing it until this party is over. The perspective on what the causes of these problems vary, just like anything else in life. I believe that building thriving and inclusive communities is one of the ways we can start to tackle some of these problems. Why am I passionate or even talking about this tonight? If you would give me just 1 minute or a few minutes, let me share with you why I am passionate about this. I am the founder and CEO of eUnity Solutions as introduced. I really created eUnity Solutions. Why? Because I had the passion of connecting people from all backgrounds and from different countries. When I first moved to Delaware, I was told I could not apply for a job because I was a woman. Because I had a heavy accent. I will repeat that. Because I had a heavy accent. Because I was an immigrant. And because I was a woman. As though these were predeterminants to a job opportunity. You heard me, right? So for 13 years, while teaching at an Institute of Higher Learning, I organized an annual celebration of cultural heritage that brought about some change. And I realized in that moment that change truly needed to come. And why not be a part of that change? People always say you're either going to be a part of the problem or a part of the solution. And I decided to be a part of that solution. So I created eUnity Solutions because I dealt with business leaders, community leaders, managers, and many others who were struggling with lack of cultural understanding, lack of effective cross-cultural communication, lack of diversity and inclusion training, or simply for that matter did not see a reason to even have diversity and inclusion conversations. So for the time that I have had this company and we've been in business, we have invested time in teaching these executives and leaders how to create inclusive workplace culture and how to use Dr. G's 5 P principles of success to win in the diversity and inclusion space so that they can improve team performance, increase employee engagement, improve customer satisfaction and increase retention and business growth. So I am here today, my brothers and sisters, to contend that embracing cultural differences is an opportunity to grow, not only personally, but professionally, and that diversity and without inclusion is just a check in the box. Because you can have all the different phases, all the different shapes and all the differences in the room, but without inclusion, you're just checking the box. That is all you're doing. So tonight, I am going to cover with us why we should and how we should build inclusive and thriving communities, and why it is so important that we construct the very first Cameroonian Cultural Center in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. So the first thing we must do, my dear brothers and sisters, is to be purposeful and intentional about engaging and embracing others who are different from us. What do I mean by that? Think of when you first came to the United States of America. If there's anybody here from Europe, think of when you first arrived Germany or England or where you come from. I am sure you had a heavy accent just like Dr. G did. You walked into that grocery store. You wanted a can of soda and you called it, I want a Coca-Cola or one Fanta. They didn't know what the heck you were talking about. You had a heavy accent. And it's a beautiful accent, because I know my accent is beautiful, isn't it? Yes. Right? Yes. But someone looked at you and did not know what you were saying, and neither did you. You did not understand what they were trying to say to you either. So you're looking at each other, lost. But that is life. But how about we take the time to listen to one another, not just to talk, but to understand. Communication is not just talking. It's listening, not to cut someone in the middle of their sentence, but to stop and understand. What if we start to do that? Think of a fellow brother who is coming new. Now you've been here. You've assimilated into the culture. You understand what it means to not understand somebody. What if you just stop when you find a brother who is lost and help them find what they're looking for in the store? Or maybe go with them to that social security building. Instead of saying, yo man, I got this now. I don't know what you're looking for, man. What are you trying to do? Excuse me? You're trying to rap, but let me tell you, you still have an accent. So just stop it. Cut it out. Because in the process of you trying to rap, let me tell you, I can't even understand what you're trying to say. And then you got your pants hanging off your butt. Just cut that out. That's not you. So let us help each other and try to position yourself in somebody else's shoe. You have been there, so help others. Be intentional about it. Think of how you felt, because you have been there. So let us show empathy. Empathy is trying to put yourself in someone else's shoe. You cannot say you understand where somebody has been if you have not been there. You do not have the lived experience. There's something about lived experience. You have been there, you've been through it, you felt the pain. You know what it means to go through that trauma or that pain. So don't tell me you understand what I've been through. No, you don't. Let me tell you what I've been through. Let me teach you. You're trying to be an ally to me? Then learn what it means to be what I've been through. Come in my community and live in my community so you can understand what it is like to be in my community. So that you can begin to put yourself in my shoes. So you know what my needs are. It's not about you. It's about me and us in my community. But when I speak like this, don't think that because we look alike, we don't have those same issues. We do. Because we have different perspectives. Our thought process is different. That doesn't make us weak. it makes us stronger. Because everyone is built in a unique way. We have unique skills, unique talents, but it's about bringing it together to make us stronger. See, when I was growing up back home, I always wanted to be a teacher like my dad. My dad was an educator for 54 years. Bless his heart, he passed away last year. I grew up always wanting to be a teacher. But after high school, I went to the famous University of Yaoundé, but refused to learn the French language because I saw that as someone else's responsibility. Why me? Why not them? So I learned the hardest way. I flunked out of the University of Yaoundé at the age of 21. You can only imagine the child of an educator in Cameroon failing out of college. I thought my life had ended, but my parents gave me a second chance in life. And you know you do not take second chances for granted. So that would take me through 360-degree turn. But because they valued an education, they sold a piece of property and sent me to Canada. That was my first awakening to my cultural responsiveness. While in Canada, I still failed to allow my Canadian brothers and sisters to embrace me so I could learn from them their values and beliefs, and I ended up leaving Canada disheartened, even though I had mastered dental therapy and got a job, but I was still not happy. I thought I was still looking for a place where I would find people that looked like me. But arriving in the Washington, D.C. area, I realized I was looking for a place to call home. I would make that home in Delaware. And that's why I was met with another transformation. That's when I was told I cannot apply for a job because of my accent. So you see, we have to be intentional. We have to be purposeful in how we embrace others and see that our differences are an opportunity. So be aware. It's our second strategy. You have to be aware of who is in your community. We each have to take a role to play in our community. Yes, you're going to build the cultural center. Yes, your leaders have a vision for this cultural center. But what role are you going to play to be inclusive? Are you going to be a pioneer? Are you going to be an influencer? Are you going to be a champion? Are you going to be a hesitator? Those people who say, oh, nah, this is not going to work. Are you going to be an obstructor? Running around telling people, no, he just wants to take your money. It's not going to work. It's never going to come to fruition. You got to decide what role you're going to play. It's not about the executive team. It's about each and every one of us in this room. Whether you're from New Jersey, whether you're from Virginia, whether you're from Maryland, whether you're from Delaware, it's about Cameroon. We need to learn to stick together. We need to learn to be a community. More so an inclusive and thriving community, not just a community. That's how we're going to do it. We all have to come together to do it. When we each can recognize what role we will play, then we're truly locking our heads together to build this and make it become a reality. In the process of this, the third thing we have to do is to exercise patience. We live in a society where everything is, give me now, give me now, give me now. We want miracles to happen overnight. It doesn't happen that way. It's an ongoing process. We have to exercise patience. We will make mistakes along the way. We will experience a lot of conflict, cross-culturally, with individuals, with our brothers and sisters. Just like in every family, we are going to fight with one another. But it is okay, as long as we know that we will meet those challenges. We have to learn to forgive one another once we're faced with those challenges. Recognizing that forgiveness is the most difficult principle to practice, but it can be very, very rewarding. Let me borrow Oprah Winfrey's definition of forgiveness. It is giving up the hope what could have, should have happened. In fact, it did not happen. It's accepting the reality of what did happen and moving on. That is forgiveness. Forgiving is not forgetting what happened, but it gives you inner peace. It's not forgetting, it gives you inner peace. It's not saying you've forgotten what the other person did to you. It's about you, it's letting go. Because what happened yesterday is gone. It's looking forward. All the challenges that your team faced yesterday, it's gone. When the center is built, you will never ever even think about those challenges. So I challenge the Association of Greater Philadelphia to look forward. There's a reason why you met the storms. And there's a saying that if you're coming into a storm, you do not stand and let the storm sweep you away. You got to keep moving through that storm. You cannot stand there and let the storm sweep you. And that's exactly what you did. You kept moving. And that's why we're here in this hall today. You got to keep going until this center is built. And so tomorrow you will celebrate that victory and say, we did it. Yes. You will raise your hands up and say, we came through it. Those challenges were there, but that's the beauty of it. Everyone that is in this room tonight was meant to be here. Nothing stopped you from coming here tonight. Yes. That is the process you will go through this journey. But along the way, there's going to be glitches, there's going to be challenges, there's going to be temptations, there's going to be name calling. Everything that you can think of under the surface of the earth. But just hold your head up high. Keep an open mind and be forgiving for that inner peace. Yes. And keep it going. Understand that we're all very unique. You have your own makeup. You have your own skill set as an individual. But collectively we're stronger. When you find yourself in a new community, trying to assimilate or fit in, you're going to make those mistakes. But as Africans, let me remind us, some of the mistakes that we make, and I know my big brother is going to talk about cultural identity, but I'm going to steal a little bit of his thunder here for a little bit. We sometimes try to fit in or trying to assimilate, and we lose some of our foundation or some of our roots. I'd like to buy into the idea of the salad bowl. We often talk about the melting pot. I don't buy into that concept. I like the idea of the salad bowl. Why? Because of the beautiful salad ingredients and the unique textures of the ingredients. Everything maintaining its color and its texture. When you have a beautifully made salad and all those colors inside, doesn't it look beautiful? It does. So think of it, coming into a new community, and when you're trying to assimilate and adapt to that culture, and holding to your values and beliefs of your roots and your foundation, you are coming in to be a culture fit, and not, you're coming in to be a culture add, and not a culture fit, my brothers and sisters. Do not, as from today, if no one has told you this, go into any community or any job and someone tell you you're coming to be a culture fit. I disagree. You are a culture add. You are not no culture fit. You do not have to fit in any room. You walk into that room with confidence and you are a culture add. Because you bring something unique. You bring a skill set that only you have. You bring value to add to that table that you find yourself in. And your voice have got to be heard. And your skill set have got to be an addition to that table. And no one can tell you you're less because you have an accent or because you speak any different. Absolutely not. You're just human as they are. You're not no different because your color is different, not because your hair texture is different, not because you come from somewhere else because they think you're something else. No. You are just human because we're all of the human race. So I'm here today to challenge you that you are a culture add and not a culture fit. So practicing empathy and forgiveness will make the journey of diversity and inclusion much more enjoyable. Let me remind us some of the demographic statistics of Philadelphia. According to your 2018 census, the demographic makeup of Philadelphia is as follows. African Americans make up 41%, or a little over 41% of the Philadelphia population. 39% make up the Caucasian population. 7% is Asians, 7% is other, 4% is 2 or more race, 0.3% is Native Americans, Hawaiian is 0.04%, and over 500,000 of you make up the Philadelphia population. 500,000 immigrants out of 1.5 million people in Philadelphia. What does that say to us? That is opportunity. And that is diversity. So your problem is not a diversity problem. It is an inclusion problem. The question now you then ask is there inclusion in the city of Philadelphia? Is there inclusion in the Cameroonian community? And is there belonging? Because it's one thing to have inclusion, but does everyone feel respected and feel like they're at home? Because belonging is when the magic happens, my brothers and sisters. That's when you feel wanted and not needed. Belonging is when you feel like you're at home, you're in your own home. So that is what we should think about. That is the reason we're here today. Because we want a center where everyone comes in to not only to learn about the Cameroonian culture, the Cameroonian cuisine, the Cameroonian art. Like people like my sister Cherie drawing beautiful art from Africa and Cameroon. But to learn about our way of life. Why we do things the way we do things. Why we celebrate holidays the way we do. So we can embrace other cultures and learn about them as well. We're not only going to be teaching about Cameroonian culture. We will be embracing other people, because when we do that, we can live in harmony. Right? So this is a great opportunity. So I will challenge each and every one of us in this room today. If you haven't been thinking about embracing other people, let your desire today increase for embracing others. So I'm going to challenge us to support this cause, because it is indeed needed. So in conclusion, creating a culture of inclusion is more than just letting people have a voice. It is respecting, appreciating, and celebrating different perspectives is key to thriving and forward-thinking community. So again, my dear brothers and sisters, thank you so much for giving me this time. I love you all.
Thank you so much, Dr. G. Put your hands together for Dr. Eunice GWANMESIA. She's a diversity and inclusion strategist, the founder of eUnity Solutions. As she explained in her stories, she went through a lot.